Are we facing a total capitulation event right now for Bitcoin? Well, there's some interesting indicators that say, well, maybe this was our capitulation event. Also, I want to talk a little bit more about the FTX scandals. The rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper. More crazy stuff just keeps getting revealed. Let's get it. And hey, just to start off today's video on a high note, I suppose, the whole stock markets, and of course all risk markets, are a bit jittery over a missile that landed in a Polish village, largely thought to be from Russia potentially. Now, whether or not that resulted in a major escalation from NATO and the start of World War III and nuclear Armageddon remains to be seen. Probably not great for risk assets if that happens. So hopefully cooler heads will prevail and this will, not much will come of this situation, but that is definitely something that could rock markets here in the coming days if we see some real heavy responses to that. I also want to talk about, of course, the FTX craziness. So as Edward Snowden here points out, the White House sanctions and arrests kids for the crime of building privacy tools to protect you. He's talking about developers that have actually been locked up for building privacy tools, while those same regulators were all palling around with the thieves who just robbed 5 million people in the FTX collapse. What is the difference between those two parties? Well, the thieves were big political donors. This Fortune.com article here says the FTX debacle makes FCC Chairman Gary Gensler look bad once again. His connections with FTX is just crazy. SBF, the CEO of FTX, was romantically involved with the daughter of Gary's teaching buddy at MIT, and she was also the head of Alameda Research. Like, the whole thing just stinks. It's all this nepotism, dirty money changing hands. And as Balaji points out here on Twitter, the net result of FTX is that billions of dollars were stolen from cryptocurrency investors and potentially given to Democrat-aligned politicians, nonprofits, and journalists. This is why there may be no prosecution. You have to ask, why is SBF being protected? A New York Times article came out basically running interference for him. Well, people like Jesse Powell, the CEO of Kraken, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, have been hit very heavily by the New York Times, criticized viciously. They do a puff piece for SBF after all this criminality has surfaced. That's crazy. That's crazy. As Balaji points out, he was basically George Soros Jr., just doing it with stolen customer money, and evidently he bought off the entire media, nonprofit, political, and regulatory establishment. That is absolute craziness. And of course, one other thing I wanted to point out here with this is this. He's saying we need a list of all the donations that SBF made, potentially with stolen money. Think about that, potentially with stolen money. So 69 million to mostly Democrats in the previous election. We have 128 million to a super PAC back in 2020. We have also an undisclosed amount going to a dark PAC as well. So a lot of FTX money ended up in politics, ended up on one side of politics. There's even a theory going around right now that some of the money that was sent to Ukraine was actually laundered back into particularly the Democratic establishment in the USA. Now, how true that conspiracy theory is, we shall find out. You know, usually conspiracy theories are, 6 weeks or 6 weeks away from becoming conspiracy fact, right? But we shall see. I mean, $100 billion in money and weapons has been sent into Ukraine, one of the most corrupt countries in Europe. To see some of that money flowing back via FTX to grease pockets all over Washington, would not be surprised. Would you be surprised? I wouldn't be surprised, personally. A lot of money, we know for certain, has been moving around here. So the FTX scandal just keeps getting crazier, from the orgies to playing League of Legends while closing massive deals, and just the criminality, the insanity. It's been totally crazy. The FTX saga, of course, is far from over, and the contagion effects of that saga have not yet been completely found out. So do keep that in mind in markets. We still could see a lot of unexpected things happen. Now, before we talk about the capitulation idea, I just want to let you know, if you're not signed up yet to Wealth Mastery, you got to check it out. It is my weekly cryptocurrency investor newsletter. We talk about altcoins, NFTs, airdrops, technical analysis, DeFi tutorials, and much, much more. Join our 50,000 weekly readers by signing up for free using the link down below in the description. Now let's talk about Bitcoin capitulation. The contrarian view now would be that the bottom is in for Bitcoin. Logic would say that FTX contagion is not likely over. Macro is still pretty dicey. I mean, what just happened in Poland, man? That could have some real big effects on the market if it escalates, right? It could also, that just has all kinds of crazy knock-on effects from, of course, World War III happening, to how it affects energy markets, to how it affects shipping lanes, and all kinds of crazy stuff, man. Obviously, we don't want any of that to happen. But again, the contrarian view would be that Bitcoin, we've already seen the bottom. You will let me know down below in the comment section if you think that's true or not. Have we seen the bottom for Bitcoin? Is the contrarian view now the correct one when everyone's expecting us to go to 14K? Everyone's expecting us to go to 10K. I saw a guy the other day say, no, we're going down to 3K. We're going all the way back down to 3K, full round trip. Who knows? But I'd be curious to hear your point of view down below on that in the comment section. This is a very interesting one though. This is the Bitcoin volume on the 3-day charts on Coinbase. Now this actually saw basically the biggest volume spike on the 3-day chart ever, right there. Boom, the FTX collapse. This is the COVID crash right here. You can see not as big volume. Now I do want to point out that on the 1-day chart, the COVID crash did have slightly larger volume than the FTX crash on a 1-day chart. But still, on the 3-day chart, we had this incredible candle. Even if you're looking at the 1-day chart, that's, again, a potential capitulation candle. What we usually want to see when we talk about capitulation is that giant, fat candle that just shows huge volumes of panic selling, capitulation across the market from market participants. That candle right there, this one right here, is potentially such a candle. Potentially. Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index only at 23 currently, but I feel like the sentiment online has been much worse than this is actually representing right now. I feel like this should be quite a bit lower considering the anger, the fear, the panic, the just depression that we are seeing from market participants online right now. It has been absolutely rough for the market. So sentiment is very, very low right now. Everyone's talking about crypto's dead. This is going to be a multi-year bear market, a crypto winter unlike anything we've ever seen before. Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't be. A lot of it may still just depend on that macro situation. But hey, I guess if we get World War III again, probably going to have a pretty bad crypto winter. Crypto will be the orange coin and monkey pictures will be the least of people's concerns in that situation. Here's the Wall Street cheat sheet, always worth taking a look at and considering. The question is, are we now here in the anger stage, right? Who shorted the market? Why did the government allow this to happen, right? That's definitely a question people are asking about FTX right now, right? Why were they not looking at FTX more thoroughly? They're out, the SEC's out there running after all the wrong people. Meanwhile, they were sitting down with the biggest criminals in the industry, helping them work on potentially a monopoly. That's what FTX was pushing for. Crazy, crazy stuff. Or are we actually now at the depression phase in the market? My retirement money is lost. How can we pay for all this stuff? I am an idiot. Oh, we've all felt like that before. We have all felt like that at some point in 2022. Holy cow. The question is, where are we right now in this psychology cycle, right? Also, big celebs starting to back off of crypto a little bit. Tom Brady has removed his Bitcoin laser eyes from his Twitter profile. Is that bullish capitulation? He did replace it with his NFT, so kind of, sort of, but not really, right? Maybe less bullish on Bitcoin, more bullish on his NFT, but still, we're definitely seeing a lot of celebrities that got burned by this, a lot of die down in the chatter. Basically, the only conversations you're seeing going on right now about Bitcoin in the media is negative stuff, right? You're not really seeing any exciting stuff going on. Again, that's the kind of sentiment and sort of events that we tend to associate more with capitulation events in the market. And I also want to share this with you here. And it's surprisingly coming as a defense of crypto from JP Morgan, of all places. Take it as you will. Anyway, They said, we see a widely publicized collapse of FTX as a potentially dramatically accelerating the timeline to which crypto-related regulation will be ushered in. Similar to what we saw with new banking regulation following the 2008 financial crisis. As a result, we see the news surrounding FTX as one step back, but that could potentially prove to be the catalyst to move the crypto economy 2 steps forward, further unlocking the utility of blockchain technology. In fact, we see the establishment of a regulatory framework as the needed catalyst to massively ramp up the institutional adoption of crypto, aka to bring tens of trillions of dollars into the market. It's not institutions don't want to be involved in crypto, it's that regulations make it hard for them to do it. And finally, their last note here was that, moreover, while the news of the collapse of FTX is empowering crypto skeptics, we would point out that all the recent collapses in the crypto ecosystem have been from centralized players, not from decentralized protocols. Bitcoin has kept on Bitcoining. Ethereum has kept on making blocks, letting people trade NFTs, letting people use decentralized finance. Aave is still working. Curve Finance is still working. Uniswap is still working. DeFi survived. Blockchain survived. It's corrupt, criminal, centralized players that have been the problem here. Anyway, that's all for now. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll see you next time.